It's time for the Newsmaker Show on News Talk AM 1480 WLEA.
Good morning. It's Brian O'Neill on Live this morning with Tom Osborne of USUN Report, formerly ABC. Tom Osborne, thanks for joining us today.
Brian, it's my pleasure. What an exciting evening.
Well, here's the breakdown of who won what state by state. Hillary Clinton, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. Bernie Sanders, Colorado, Minnesota, Oklahoma, and Vermont. Donald Trump, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Virginia, and Vermont. Ted Cruz, Alaska, Oklahoma, and Texas. Alaska was just announced a couple of hours ago. Rubio, Minnesota. So, Tom Osborne, it's 7 states for Hillary Clinton, 7 states for Donald Trump. Marco Rubio picked up 1 state. Senator Cruz won 3 states. But if you listen to Cruz last night, he was talking like the front runner. We have some audio here from ABC.
Ted Cruz has claimed victory in 2 states, his home state of Texas and the neighboring Oklahoma. And without mentioning his rivals by name, he has called on them to drop out and unite behind his candidacy. It is the only way, Cruz said a moment ago, to defeat Donald Trump.
Here's Cruz in his own words.
Let's come together, let's unite behind the only campaign that has beaten Donald not once, not twice, but now 3 times across the country.
Senator Marco Rubio actually has somewhat of a similar attitude. Here's audio from ABC from last night.
Just 5 days ago, we began to unmask the true nature of the front runner so far in this race. 5 days ago, we began to explain to the American people that Donald Trump is a con artist. And in just 5 days, we have seen the impact that is having all across the country. We are seeing in state after state, he loves to talk about polls, we are seeing in state after state his numbers coming down, our numbers going up.
Tom Osborne, your reaction to the confidence there from Rubio and Cruz, even though it seems that they're losing to Trump?
Well, Brian, I think we have to keep in mind that big number 1237, and that would be the next 2 weeks will be critical, and that is for the Stop Trump movement. If you'll notice, rarely in an election where you're second and third and second and third and second and third, somehow you're seen as winning. That's clear if you're in the establishment, but it's not clear if you're outside of the establishment. And let's face it, Tennessee, I think, is one of the states where he was it was a very strong message of change. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of maneuvering, I think, toward the convention. Everybody's thinking about the convention. Don't forget that Gerald Ford challenged by Reagan in 76. He didn't make it, but he did the next time. And then McGovern changed all the rules that got the nomination and lost by a landslide in 72. So these rules can make a difference.
You know, you mentioned that, and various news outlets, such as the New York Times, have been writing about how the Republican leadership, or as you say, and many others say, the establishment Republicans, they do not want Trump there, and the anti-Trump movement is out and about working to block Trump from getting the nomination. If we could hear a couple more sound bites, this is what they were saying last night on ABC Radio as the results were coming in.
It's fascinating, but you really have to look at the Trump makeup of the Trump voter. The Trump vote support does not come from one bucket of the Republican Party. It comes from the entire spectrum of the Republican Party. Hardcore right conservatives, evangelicals, moderate Republicans, even establishment Republicans that have one thing in common. They are angry because, again, what we are seeing tonight in these states, the most important exit poll number is over 50% of Republican voters, almost 60% actually, feel betrayed by the Republican Party. And Donald Trump is getting a very large majority of those voters.
And we also see that among GOP primary voters, Trey, they want somebody from outside the political establishment, and where places where that sentiment runs strongest, that's where Trump does well.
Well, he does. I mean, listen, there's a lot we're going to be able to talk about tonight, a ton. But to simplify it right now, Marco Rubio has to win Virginia. Virginia is a Marco Rubio state. That's where you have Republicans that are a little bit more educated, more informed, aren't as apt to fall into the emotion bucket. So I really am looking at Virginia closely for Marco Rubio tonight.
And as we know, Marco Rubio did not get Virginia last night. ABC's Trey Harden and Aaron Katursky there in that soundbite. Tom Osborne, what did you think of what Katursky and Harden said there?
Well, I think he's right. That Rubio, Cruz, and Kachich are all standbys for an open convention, perhaps something after the first ballot. But one thing we have to remember, I mean, look at the statistics. Yes, Trump has so far maintained a 35% ceiling. However, you have to look at about 65% of the GOP are not for Trump. Now, they're in the background and they're standing by. So I think if you reviewed that press conference last night, it was very interesting. If you want to look at where the establishment is, Governor Christie standing behind Trump in the flag-draped presidential-looking press conference. I think someone said Christie should get the supporting actor Oscar for that one. He must have been really squirming when he had to do that. But that's the point. Trump is trying to turn the big ship now toward attracting some of the establishment, heading off, perhaps even making them think that he might be a credible candidate. And let's face it, he would be a tough candidate. You're very, very mistaken if you think you won't be a tough candidate against Senator Clinton. I mean, Secretary Clinton. It's absolutely going to be a nuclear fight.
Talking with Tom Osborne of US-UN Report here on the Newsmaker Show live this morning at 20 minutes before 9 o'clock. Now, WLEA, and I said this yesterday to Alfred University professor Gary Ostrower, WLEA has two networks for news. And the reason we do that is because we have a lot of Republicans in the area, so for them we have Fox. We have a lot of liberals in the area, so for them we have ABC. And we've heard some clips from ABC. This is what Ed Henry was saying last night on Fox here on WLEA.
The whole thing tonight is delegates. Obviously, as you mentioned, Rubio and Cruz would like to find somewhere to win, but it's almost if you want to stop Donald Trump, you got to hope tonight for Rubio and Cruz and Carson and Kasich to get as many delegates as they can. The rules are very complicated tonight, which could make it even more difficult for Trump to run up the score.
But Trump did run up the score, and you get the impression, if you pay any attention to Fox News Radio or Fox News Channel on TV, that Fox really is kind of siding with the establishment a little bit in that they don't want Trump to succeed either. Tom Osborne, Rubio, he did not win Virginia. Trump did. So Rubio and Cruz combined won 4 states. And Tom, you kind of alluded to this, that the two senators might know something we don't, meaning that Cruz and Rubio, who many are hoping will run together, Cruz and Rubio might have been promised something by the GOP officials or donors that things will work out for them, maybe at the convention, if Trump keeps beating them. As we mentioned, there's been numerous reports that the Republican establishment could pull the rug out from Trump so that even if he does well with the popular vote, the officials in the Republican Party turn against him. Your thoughts, Tom Osborne, on why Rubio and Cruz are sounding so confident? Do you think it is some kind of deal going on?
Well, I certainly know there's a discussion going on. Of course there is. Trump is trying to puncture the invincibility of the GOP. And he has pretty much wrecked the party. It shattered the party, let's face it. And GOP candidates like Cruz and Rubio, Kasich as well, are standing by. And if, in fact, there is a broker convention, doesn't win after the first ballot, then it's an open game. So these guys are getting the kind of normal establishment attention that they're looking for. So they're winners in that sense. If it were the old Republican Party, they would be right on top. But it's not. It's a shattered party, and that's what everyone is trying to deal with.
Tom Osborne, you talk about the Republican Party being a shattered party. I've heard Republicans who like Trump And the Republicans who like Trump say that they hope for a Trump victory and that the Republican establishment will get out of the way. I've heard Republicans who don't like Trump, and they say that Trump has had too many faux pas, too many incidents where he said too much, and this will be used in the general election in television and radio commercials using Trump's own quotes against Trump in the campaign. Tom, you talk to a lot of people. You know a lot of journalists. Are you hearing anything about what could or might happen at the Republican convention this summer?
There's very extremes, on one level, some actually Republican stalwarts are thinking it might be better to lose the election than have Trump as a nominee. But then who? That's the question. So everybody's in the same game here. Nobody knows whether the rules of the party can hold or not. That's what we're going to have to see happen. And, of course, as Trump goes along winning state after state after state, which I think he will do, it's going to be very, very difficult to deny him the nomination. So they're in a bind. The Democrats are cruising along with Hillary, and they don't have the disparity and the horror that a lot of establishment of Republicans feel right now. So the momentum is behind Trump, but I still think that there is a back deal. I do think that there is some discussion. I know that there are discussions. I've heard that there are lots of money. There's lots of money coming in to stop Trump. So that could be very, very, very ugly. So we'll see.
Tom Osborne, do you see the possibility of Trump winning the convention and then going in and revamping the Republican Party, just getting rid of the GOP establishment and starting all over again?
Well, the reality is that even if they, at some far-reaching plan where they were able to stop Trump, let's face it, he's going to be around. He's not the kind of guy who's going to go away. So in either case, they're going to have to look at Trump as a change candidate. He's going to be someone who's going to keep fighting the Republican establishment. So they have to decide whether they're going to like him now or like him or fight him all the rest of the next decade. I don't know which they're going to choose.
Talking with Tom Osborne on the Newsmaker Show live this morning, and Tom Osborne and I will talk about the Democrats' votes last night in Super Tuesday. Finishing up here in segment 1 now, before we go to Fox News. Finishing up in segment 1 with a little of Donald Trump's speech in Florida from last night.
No country can sustain that kind of trade deficit. It won't be that way for long. We have the greatest business leaders in the world on my team already. And believe me, we're going to redo those trade deals, and it's going to be a thing of beauty. You look at countries like Mexico, where they're killing us on the border, absolutely destroying us on the border. They're destroying us in terms of economic development. Companies like Carrier Air Conditioner just moving into Mexico, Ford moving into Mexico, Nabisco closing up shop in Chicago and moving into Mexico. We have to stop it, folks. I know how to stop it. We're going to create jobs. We're going to create jobs like you've never seen. We're going to lower taxes. I have a plan that Larry Kudlow and so many others think is the best plan they've seen. We're going to lower taxes substantially for the middle class. The middle class has been forgotten in our country. It really helped and really probably was the predominant factor in making our country into a country that we all love so much and we're all so proud of. But we've forgotten the middle class, and we're going to lower taxes. We're lowering taxes on business. You look at all the companies that are moving out.
Tom Osborne, Donald Trump has been criticized all through the campaign by both sides, Democrats and Republicans, for not getting into specifics. Was what we just heard there a little bit more specific than Trump has been so far?
I would say it's gentler and kinder. He has sort of laid out, again, general plans, but no specifics, really. He said what he would like to see happen, but he hasn't really said how it's going to happen. I mean, we can talk about all of those particulars, particularly the wall. That's, I think, the most obvious and glaring improbability, let's just say. So I think he has not been specific, and this is going to get down to the wire because it's going to play right into the Democrats' hands. You know, at one point, Hillary is saying now we have to bring the country together again. Donald Trump is saying and denoting and pointing out all the losers in this country. So the question is, you know, those are the big overall themes. And let's make this country whole again. Let's make this country great again. This country has always been great. I think Americans like a little more positive. We'll see how it plays out. But
yes, you're right. It's worked very well so far in the Republican caucuses and primaries. Will it work in the general? People are divided on that. The experts are divided on that. We're talking with Tom Osborne this morning live on the Newsmaker show. When we get back, we'll talk about the Democrat races from last night, which was Super Tuesday, right now breaking for Fox News.
This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Lillian Wu.
Instead of building walls, we're going to break down barriers.
Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump racking up big wins Super Tuesday. Both Clinton and the GOP frontrunner scoring strong showings in the South.
He got 43% of the GOP vote in Alabama, more than doubling Ted Cruz's second-place finish in that state. In Tennessee, it was Trump 39, Cruz 25. And here in Georgia, Trump got 39%, with Cruz and Marco Rubio tied at 24%. There has been heavy turnout, especially among GOP voters in the region. Part of Trump's success in the Deep South has been his ability to attract evangelical Christian voters.
Jonathan Sari in Atlanta. Bernie Sanders pledging to keep fighting till the Democratic National Convention in July. And a new U.S. General, Army General John McNicholson, taking over command of U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan today. Fox News. We report. You decide.
The Newsmaker Show. This is AM 1480 WLEA.
Glad to have on with us this morning Tom Osborne of US-UN Report, formerly ABC. Tom, here's part of Hillary Clinton's speech from last night, which actually we just heard some of on the Fox newscast that was just on.
Instead of building walls, we're going to break down barriers and build ladders of opportunity and empowerment so every American can live up to his or her potential, because then and only then can America live up to its full potential too. Now, it's clear tonight that the stakes in this election have never been higher, and the rhetoric we're hearing on the other side has never been lower. Trying to divide America between us and them is wrong, and we're not going to let it work.
So Hillary Clinton and what she said there, it's kind of Trump-focused. Tom Osborne, what I get out of that, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, does Hillary Clinton's talking about Trump mean that Hillary Clinton knows it's possible for Trump to beat her?
Of course, and however, let's look at the demographics. Someone said, I'm sorry, I can't quote them, but the point was that brown is the new American white majority, and that's what Trump has to deal with also. And let's take a look at, there's a great Southern expression here. Nikki Haley said it. She tweeted after Trump one of his boisterous remarks. She said, "Bless your heart." Well, that's the kiss of death down here in the South. So I think everyone is speaking in code. And in the general election, I think it will be a hard-fought battle for the minority majority that's coming about in this election. They're coming into being. And that's going to work against Trump. So it's going to be a closely fought race. And Hillary has to pull all stops. And Trump is a loose cannon. Who knows if he's the nominee? What he'll say, what he'll do. We know where he's going to pull out anything that Hillary Clinton has said. So, and Bill Clinton too. Let's not forget that. So I noticed when they brought out the affairs of Bill Clinton previously Trump did. He dropped from 51% rating popularity to 35 in that moment. That shows you where the big guns are going to be trained.
Bernie Sanders. Sort of like Rubio and Cruz. Sanders won 4 states. Hillary won 7, but Sanders said last night that he's going all the way to the convention. Wondering, Tom Osborne, do you think that might be because Sanders has raised something like $42 million? Does that help Sanders bring something to the table at the Democratic convention this summer? Because it doesn't seem like he's coming in delegate-wise anywhere near what Hillary is.
No, he's not, and he can't. And I think what's going to happen, he can run as long as he has money. And I don't think he's going to be a McCarthy spoiler. I think he's going to play, let's face it, he's brought a whole new generation, the generation that's going to be running this country. I said, we talked about this in an interview recently, just back from New York on the Sirius Network. That is the real majority that's coming up, and they're backing Cruz. That's the 20s, the 25-year-olds. And that's a united force. So both Hillary has to be careful with that because that's real raw emotion. That's support. And Sanders has to be careful about that because they both want the same end. And I think they have to find a way to bring those forces together. It's possible. In fact, it's inevitable. So when and where and how that happens is going to be very carefully done.
Do you see a Hillary on the top of the ticket, Sanders as the VP?
No, I don't think so, especially and in particular because of his what they do to him on a party scale, socialist. No, she has to bring in somebody that Sanders likes, somebody that his people like, but not Sanders himself.
April 19th. That's when we vote here in New York State. Both Democrat and Republican primaries will be April 19th. The big question is, will Trump do better than Hillary that day? Now, obviously, one's in the Republican primary, the other is in the Democrat primary, but the New York Post's Fred Dicker reports that he's seen confidential polling data that indicates that Trump will not only win, he'll win bigger than Hillary does in New York State. And Hillary used to be, as you know, Tom, a U.S. Senator for New York State. Now, Steuben County Democratic Chairman Hornell Mayor Sean Hogan says that poll is out to lunch, impossible. Hillary was super popular. And, one could recall how when Hillary came to Hornell, when she was a U.S. Senator, the streets were flooded outside of what was then called the Hornell KFC, the Knights of Columbus, now the main place. But the streets were flooded with people who were all excited to see Hillary. What do you think about that? I mean, a lot of people are saying Trump will win the Republican primary in New York State, Hillary will win the Democrat primary, but that Trump's numbers actually will be better. Do you think that's possible in a Democrat state?
I don't. Of course, you might have better knowledge on that, but my feeling is coming from the New York City area, Trump would not have a good race against Hillary in the state. I mean, if you compare numbers, if you compare popularity, I think as you pointed out. There's too many skeletons in the closet there. And you have a united Democratic front in New York, so that Hillary's numbers are going to be enormous. And so I don't think there's any jeopardy for Hillary in whatever Trump shows in New York. It certainly won't shake her candidacy.
Tom Osborne is now with UN Report, formerly ABC. He was Peter Jennings' right-hand man. Wanted to ask you, Tom, and we're just down to a couple of minutes, what do you think Peter Jennings would be saying about this race for the White House in 2016?
I think he would be probably dumbfounded, like everyone else, following the line of where it's going and not sure how to address it exactly. I think he would be open-minded and factual and down-to-earth, and he would be that calm voice in the storm, telling people the reality of the numbers. The fact is that the demographics in the United States have changed. He would make that clear. I'm sure he would point out that that Trump is a totally new product, which nobody knows how to define. And ultimately, he would be giving us a wait a minute attitude. And let's watch how it unfolds, not drawing any lines especially, but looking at the facts and the demographics that change in the country.
Tom Osborne, we are out of time. We have to check in with ABC right now for the latest news, just as we did a few minutes ago for Fox. I want to thank you very much for being with us today, Tom.
My pleasure, Brian, always.